Okay, so we're back with another accent feedback video. This time for someone reading poetry, which is interesting to say the least. Yeah, not much information to go off of, which is fine. Um, and yeah, so there was another commenter who said that the accent sounded very natural. I'm actually going to disagree with that person here. I think it's quite. I don't think you sound bad per se, but I think it's quite clear that you're not a native speaker. And we're going to get into why in just a second. And also, a quick disclaimer. I noticed I'm going to be talking a little bit about intonation here, and it's possible that your intonation is a bit altered just because you're reading poetry, and so I'm not quite sure about that. But because overall your intonation sounded a little off to me, and but we could blame that partially on the fact that you were reading, and specifically reading poetry. But so let's get right into it.
The morning comes to consciousness. A faint spell smells of beer with a solid tremble street, with all its muddy feet that pressed.
Right, so we'll keep going. Also, the audio quality is not fantastic, but that's okay.
All its tremble street, with all its muddy feet that pressed to early coffee stands. With the other masquerade.
Right, so there on like the word other, right? I'm hearing other, that you'd expect to say in a lot of Romance languages, right? And also just many languages across the world. Hearing other, but I want other, there.
Early coffee stands. With the other masquerades, the times resumes. One thinks of all the hands that are raising, of all the hands that are other masquerades, the times resumes. One thinks of all the hands.
Okay, and right there on that, I think that's all the hands. Maybe I can pull up a text real quick, because I think you've mentioned it. Let's see if I can find this. Okay, Preludes from T.S. Eliot. Okay, yeah, when all the world came back, is that where we're at?
That pressed to early coffee stands. With the other masquerades, the times resumes. One thinks of all the hands.
Okay, here. All right, let's go back slightly now that I have the text up.
Street, with all its muddy feet that pressed to early coffee stands.
Maybe it's because of the audio quality here, but on the word stands, I'm not hearing the z. I'm kind of just hearing stands, instead of stands. I would expect to hear. I mean, it's not really like a stanza or whatever, right? But there's a slight the z stands instead of stands, which is kind of what I'm hearing. We'll keep going.
With the other masquerades, the times resumes.
Right, and also kind of there in masquerades. I'm kind of hearing masquerades almost.
Masquerades,
right, masquerades. I'm almost not hearing the z at all. Masquerades.
Times resumes. One thinks of all the hands that.
Okay, right, and on that word thinks, I'm kind of hearing one thinks of all the hands. I'm hearing you're voicing that final, or not that final, but you're voicing the K. So I'm kind of hearing things instead of thinks. One thinks of all the hands. And then also on the word all, I'm not hearing the L. I'm just kind of hearing all.
The times resumes. One thinks of all the hands.
I'm kind of hearing all, which I guess can somewhat be acceptable in some variations of British English if you're saying like oh, but I'm not hearing that either. So, one of the two, depending on what you're going for. But if you're going for an American accent, I would expect to hear all. One thinks of all the hands.
Resumes. One thinks of all the hands that are raising dingly shades in the thousand.
Right, and then there on the word shades, I'm kind of hearing like shades. So the vowel's too short. I would expect a shades, and then also
shades.
I'm kind of hearing shades, but I want to hear shades.
In the thousand furnished room. You toss the blanket from the bed.
Okay, right there on blanket.
Blanket from the bed. Toss the blanket.
I'm kind of hearing blanket, almost. To over-exaggerate, like blanket is kind of what I'm hearing. But I want blanket, blanket.
From the bed, you laid upon your back and wait. You doze and watch the night revealing the thousand swords.
Right, and the commenter also pointed this out. The other guy, it almost sounds like you're saying "nigh" here. I'm not hearing that final consonant.
You doze and watch the night revealing
Right, the "nigh" revealing, but we want night. You dozed and watched the night revealing.
1,000 sordid images, of which your soul was constituted.
Okay, so right there again on soul, kind of hearing soul, which again, you're right. If you're going for some British accents, like say, I think in like say South England, so, of which your so was, whatever, right? So that's fine, but I'm also not quite hearing that as well.
They flickered against the ceiling. And when all the world came back, and then the
Right,
light
and then again on world, I'm kind of hearing whirl. Oh shit, what happened? Okay, there. I'm kind of hearing whirl. I'm not hearing the old at the end of the word that I'm expecting to hear.
when all the world came back, and then the light crept up between the
There again on light.
shutters. You hear between the shutters.
Okay, and shutters. I'm kind of hearing shutters almost. Shutters, but I want shutters, 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 shutters. So the vowel's a little off there.
Crept up between the shutters. You hear the sparrows in the gutters.
Right, and there on gutters. I'm kind of hearing gutters. But so we'd expect these two words to actually be quite similar in pronunciation. We want shutters and gutters, but I'm hearing like shooters and like I also don't remember how you do this.
Sparrows in the gutters.
Gutters, right? So the final R is gone. I guess if you're doing British again, shutters would be fine, but gutter, the sparrows in the gutters. But that's also that's not quite what I'm hearing.
Sparrows in the gutters. You have such a vision of the street, as the street hardly understands. Sitting
Right, and heartly. I'm kind of hearing heartly, heartly, heartly instead of hardly, hardly.
along the best edge where you
And then edge there instead of age. I'm kind of hearing.
along the best edge where you
Right, and then once again on bed. Right, I'm not hearing the final stop. I'm not hearing bed. I'm kind of hearing bez.
curd the papers from your hair, or clasp the yellow soles of feet in the palms of both soiled hands.
Okay. And then last thing I'll point out here is on this word yellow. I'm kind of hearing you collapsing it into one syllable.
Papers from your hair, or clasp the yellow soles,
I'm kind of hearing yo almost.
or clasp the yellow soles.
Right, I'm not hearing yellow. I'm not hearing distinct two syllables. But okay, I think we can stop there because I think that's plenty to work on there. But yeah, overall, I mean, I didn't have too hard of a time understanding you, considering the fact that some of the words in the text are a little odd, considering it's poetry, right? If I had to guess, you sound like a Portuguese speaker. It's just a hunch. Something about specifically from Brazil, actually, but I might be completely off about that. But yeah, your accent's not too thick, which is great. Yeah, just a lot of these word final stops. So like ta, da, ka, ga, or not necessarily word final, but towards the how do I say this? Like stops in the final syllable of words tend to get dropped by you. I would say that's the biggest thing. There were some vowels that I pointed out, but overall, your vowels weren't bad, considering how much people generally struggle with vowels in English. So that was pretty good. Yeah, overall, so hope this is helpful, and yep, good luck.